Welcome back to the ADHD and Free podcast, brought to you by the Awareness Space Network, a podcast and social media platform that explores how ADHDers can live their truth and feel free in their lives. We hear from inspiring ADHDers from all over the world who sit down with me, Owen Morgan, to share their truth. I'm a wellbeing coach and a passionate neurodivergent human who received his ADHD diagnosis at 41. That day, the truth transformed my life, and I was finally free of the burden of not knowing why I struggled to fit into traditional societal expectations. My mission is to explore how human spirit and understanding our whole self can bring us a life full of possibilities. Guys, I wrote that half an hour ago for my rebrand, and I'm proud. So, welcome to the ADHD and Free universe, Darren. I say welcome. This is your second time. You're the first ever returning guest, other than Carla Joe, of course, my partner. I want to thank you so much for coming back. And what I really love about this journey is the people I've already met that I keep in contact with. I feel like I'm building friendships up already, and that's something very special to be part of a tribe already this early on. I want to thank you for all your support of me on this journey.
Oh, it's good to be here, mate. It's good to be here. And yes, you're right. The friendships do build. It's really, and it's hard for us because when you're not next to the person you're becoming friends with, you know, the out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So but it's a good, strong connection when you get to talk to, you know, like-minded people, I guess, if you want to call it that. Sharing the same things.
Yeah, I think it can be hard, can't it, for us to engage with neurotypical brains, so to speak, on a regular basis, because we may be misunderstood and hard to understand at times. So it's so amazing just to I can be as silly as I want, or, you know, oh my God, look what I've just done. And then go, yeah, I get it. And that's very special. So even neurotypicals, that's very special, but especially for us guys. So it's lovely.
And absolutely.
But anyway, we're going to do something very different today, because we talked very deep last time about your story and how you interacted with that and your why. And we covered a lot of stuff, and there's so much more we could have covered. But today we thought it'd be really fun, like I said, off camera, for a little, not off recording rather, a little battle, like a little Marvel Avengers. You're non-attentive, I am combined type. So we're going to go to battle to see what different traits affect us. If they match, if they're similar, things like that. So let's see who has the worst time of it.
ADHD wars.
ADHD wars. But before we do that, just quickly, not super quickly, but quickly remind us about your podcast and why you're doing it.
My podcast, Me and ADHD Podcast. I do it mainly for therapy for myself, but also to give a platform for people to tell their story. And share certain areas of their story, be it their journey through diagnosis and assessments, medication, certain aspects of ADHD, where they struggle. And it's just given people a voice. I didn't have a voice for a very, very long time, and kind of hid away, not very good at talking to people, not very good now. But since my diagnosis, I found my voice. So it feels good if I can do that for other people as well.
Yeah, totally. You know, that's a big part of my why, and all of the people that we meet, I'm sure, along the way with ADHD feel the same way. It's like, I don't know, I feel like we have to be out there. If we have the means and the equipment and the gear and the confidence, I guess, it's really important if we can get out there and give other people a voice too, definitely.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. Awesome. Thank you, mate. Yeah, that'll be in the show notes, everybody. So go check it out. I listen to it every week, and it's very, very good. So go and see. And that's coming from a podcast host. So, you know, it's got to mean something. So,
thank you.
Like I said, today we have a very fascinating episode all about comparing our experiences from a combined type to a non-attentive type. We will share our experiences and situations that engage our ADHD brains and how we personally find it. So guys, we have like a list of like traditional things they say. So me and Darren both got notes, and we're going to kind of like see how many of them link up, how different they are. Obviously combined means I have some non-attentive in me too. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fair bit of crossover. I mean, it would have been quite useful to have two ends of it. But But I think this could work really well, actually, because so many people get the combined, it seems. So it'd be really interesting to see how much I land into your realm. Be really, really interesting. So let's kick off. So let's start off with impulsivity. So we're talking about things, like with spending, making decisions without planning it first, what we say and what we do in any given moment without thinking about consequences or not in a terrible way, just the consequences. So I think the best way to do this, Darren's, because it's hard to know how to let this unfold, but let's all just take turns. So you do one, I do one, and the other person say yeah or not really. So I'll hand over to
No
you. I'll hand
worries.
over to you first. Maybe share
Okay.
an example if you do have it. Maybe you don't have any, but this is your chance to initially set the scene here.
Okay. Well, I think first one was impulsivity. Now, with my diagnosis, and I'm guessing this is how they put it across to everyone, if they're inattentive or impulsive hyperactive. Okay, so one or the other. I'm guessing they'll say that they're predominantly inattentive, like myself, which basically means that yes, I have some impulsive and traits, I guess, but not enough to deem it to be combined. So, I mean, with impulsivity, I know with spending has, I guess for a lot of people, it's there. The impulsivity is there. It's never really been an issue for me, as in I haven't got into massive amount of debt in regards to I can't pay things back, and my life hasn't been ruined by it or altered by it. I don't have the bailiffs coming out, nothing's being repossessed or anything like that at all. So in that respect, it's not that bad. However, if I see something that I like,
Hmm.
I want, I do struggle. I used to struggle a lot and then fail, and then buy it. But now I have a family. I find it's very different. I put measures in place to make sure I don't go off track. So yeah, I used to buy things that I just wanted, but I think it's just lucky for me that the things I want aren't that expensive. You know what I mean? So it's not like I'm gonna go buy a camper van because I like
Mhm.
camping, and it's not that. It's the little things that I will, that I'll get. I mean, I do photography, and I bought a lot of things for my photography that I realize I don't actually need in the end.
Mhm.
But it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Oh, I like that. Yes, I'll buy that. But it doesn't cost a lot, and I've still got it, and I don't use them. And, so it hasn't really affected bank balance too much. But with my family now, with my wife, I say, look, I'm not going to spend anything I want that's over £50. I'll speak to you first. And she's like, you don't have to do that. It's, your money and all that. I'm going, no, I need to. I want to, because I want to make sure that I stay, because we're a family, so I don't want to go spending big money for anything. There's a few things I do want, but it's like, no. So anything like over £50, I'm like, yeah, I'll speak to her, get her thoughts behind it, and she's like, do you really need it? Is it gonna make things better for you? I'm like, yeah, okay, well, go for it. So yeah, because we share things. But being on my own before, I had no one to
Mhm.
speak to about it, So it's just fighting my own head whether I should get it or not, and always lost and always got it. But cars, I think that's probably the biggest spend, but again, not an issue. I've always said if I'm going to go get a car because I need a new car, I'm going to go get a car. All right. I've known so many people who would like spend weeks and weeks, researching what car they want and then phoning up and going to have a look at things, and then no, no,
Mhm.
I can't do that. Okay. This is the car we need. I'm a practical guy. This is the car we need. This is how much money we got. if I'm going out to get a car to go and have a look around, I'm gonna buy a car that day. If it's not there, then it's not there kind of thing. But I'm not gonna, oh, I've seen a car, it's really nice, but I've got another 10 to look at over the next few weeks. No. If I see a car, it fits the bill, it's the right size, what we need, it's the right price, I'm getting that now. So that's the impulsivity side. However, again, it's not a, there's a thought process behind it, you know, but there's impatience when I find the right one kind of thing, because it might not be the right one. But that's where I am with it, really. That's kind of it. I don't think interruptions. Yeah, interrupting people, talking wise. That's a hard one to control. Hate it when people did it to me. And then my wife pointed out that I do finish her sentences sometimes, and it can be a bit irritating. Well, I think I'm finishing a sentence. I've just got it wrong, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm like, okay. What else have I got? I can't think about.
What about, you know, with the podcast and stuff? So say someone messages you and like, hey, Darren, like, I love what you're doing. Let's come on the show. How are you with leaving that till tomorrow? You're like, shit, I'm going to respond to that right now, even though you're supposed to be doing something else. How's that?
Yeah, I'll respond now. Yeah, that's a good one. I never thought about that, actually. Yeah, that is a good one. My phone, if there's not alarms, but messages coming through, whatever it is, there's an email come through, there's something from TikTok, there's something from Instagram, I've got to check them all out. Okay. My wife, she'll have like 30 unread messages. No. Actually, no. That can't be done. No, I have to make sure they're all been looked at. Maybe not responded, but I have to make sure that there's nothing else on the screen. But yeah, I generally do deal things, and it can be hard when you don't get an answer back. It's like mid-conversation they've gone. You're like, oh, come on, answer me.
Yeah, it's kind of like fearing the red, isn't it? You know, because on Instagram and TikTok, they're both red for whatever reason. There's four red notifications. You're like, why would you do that? So I go in, I clear all, I have 4 Instagram pages, so clear all of them, right? There's no outstanding comment. Boom.
Yep. It's got to be done. What about you? What is that? Anything that you go through? I mean,
I'm way more impulsive than you. So this is already leaning into what this experiment's all about. So yeah, yours isn't too bad. And the thing with the car, I think it's just a good thing. I think you know what you want. Let's get it done. Let's stop faffing around. And I think that's really, really good, actually. Within reason, obviously, as long as you're being sensible, but just thought through. So surely it can only be a good thing. So I'm jealous of that. So that's great. So yeah, with me, I am pretty impulsive, to be honest. So especially with things like sugar, though I've gone 5 days now without any sugar. It does upset my gut. But I find it, if there's an ice cream in the freezer or whatever, I just thinking about it all day. So I'm going to go and check it out some more. So I'm really impulsive with food. So if I'm feeling hungry, I'll just eat anything, which is not good for my well-being, really. So that's definitely one I've always had. And one of the big ones for me is subscriptions and things like Patreon. So if I want to be a patron of a podcast because I want to send a question and hear my name on the show because it feels really exciting, I'll just sign up, even though I may not have the budget for it. So that really gets me down, because in that moment when I'm feeling really good and I want even more goodness in my life, I'll sign up to Patreon. So that has a financial impact. And same with subscriptions. So quite often I forget I've even set them up. Everyone's probably familiar with this, and you're like, oh my God, it comes out again. But things like adverts, like my partner's like, oh, just don't worry, just you can save loads of money. Just, you don't have to pay for the premium. I'm like, oh, I hate adverts. I just want to enjoy my time without interruption. So paying for Wondery Plus for podcasting, paying for Amazon, Netflix, Apple TV, Prime, YouTube Premium, because I can't do YouTube with adverts. YouTube Music Premium, I'm only spending 100 quid in subscriptions. So there's an impulsivity there where I'll quit it, I'll get rid of it because it's the right thing to do, and then I'll just sign back up again in a couple of weeks because I impulsively hate, I can't have it, so I impulsively just resubscribe. So that's a huge one. And if I see something that's not quite right about something, for example, at my allotment, if I feel like it needs a little rejig or changing my room around because it doesn't feel quite right having the chair there, I'll then spend hours moving the room around and getting really, really lost and stressed, or changing the garden, which is completely fine. So that really can be quite damaging because it impacts that. But it's because in my brain I get a little spark of that's not right and I can't let it go. So I'll just impulsively just scrap everything else. And that leans into obsession. So I'm quite obsessed with doing things now. So after a podcast episode, I need to edit it now, even though I'm supposed to be doing other things like
Yep.
basic hygiene, taking care of the house, focusing on my studies. And that's a real thing I have to always focus. No, you can wait. But that impulsivity to just get the episode out now, it's not really good for me in the end. So I'll leave it there for now, but
Yeah.
that's pretty much all the big ones. So you were nodding your head quite a bit there,
This
which
is,
feels like I might be swinging you
yeah.
back around.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few things I didn't really kind of think of because I've never because in my head I'm impulsivity is there, but it's not a big issue. It hasn't affected my life massively, so I haven't really concentrated on it. So I haven't thought about it that much. But some of the things that you're saying, like, oh God, yeah, actually, yeah, like the subscription things, to Netflix and all that is. I mean, it's for me, it's great that you don't have to do a 12-month contract. So but so you can go into it, and then if when you get to a moment of clarity, you can cancel as absolutely fine. I mean, yes, you're right. In no time whatsoever, you're going to sign back up again. But there is that. Yes, I can cancel, which makes it easier to keep signing up. Eating, yeah. I didn't realize until after I stopped working full time to be a stay-at-home dad that I stress. Well, I call it stress eating. That's what I did, and I put on loads of weight. But yeah, it's that that fix. It's there. I want it. I'm going to have it. But that's getting better now. Thank you, medication,
Mhm.
because that's sort of can suppress the appetite, and it's not brilliant. But I have to put a little bit of effort into the whole don't eat all the rubbish. But it works. Losing weight. Thank you, medication. That's great. But yeah, so there's some little things like that as well. And I guess I don't know. Is oversharing, is that impulsive?
I think it's,
Oh,
yeah, you have something you want to share, but you just have no ability to just hold on to it or put it aside or do it tomorrow, even if it's information. So
yeah,
we just completely overshare everything that we don't need to be sharing in this moment. So it's in a way it is impulsive, isn't it? Like if you can't just leave it and do it later, then and
yeah,
it's too painful to do that, then it's an impulsivity problem, isn't it? I suppose.
yeah. And with people that you don't know, it's like it's wrong information, that kind of person as well, sort of thing. I've only just met you, but I'm telling you about my lactose intolerance and the like. Maybe you don't want to hear that right now. Okay, it's yeah, it's it just comes out. You just can't help it. It just comes out, and I walk away thinking, was that the right thing? I don't think that was. Might be a little bit inappropriate.
Well,
So,
it's what you said earlier, it's about the thinking it through. And if it makes sense, in some situation, it makes sense to do that. Like with you, the car, it's thought through in some ways, so it kind of makes sense. You're not overthinking it through. But I mostly do voice messages. I don't really type. I don't like typing. I find it really irritating to my brain. I like to just speak. So if I'm messaging someone for the first time, hey, I've just seen your page, I'd like to come on the show. Instead of just sending one 60-second message, which may be enough, I send three 60-second messages, which could then alienate that person. But at the end of the day, I find when I do that and I share a little bit more and I say, look, I've just been diagnosed, it's been really tough, that goes down really well with 80% of people. They're like, oh, thanks so much for sharing. And they already trust me and they like me. They're like, oh, wow, he's really open. And they're much more likely to come on. So actually, screw it. I'm just going to overshare because in that environment, it's going to get me the right kind
yeah,
of guest. If someone
yeah,
says there's way too many messages and they don't respond, they're not the right kind of guest. So I think it's just I think it through. I'm okay with oversharing there, but maybe not in other environments, I guess.
yeah.
So think that's important. Right, cool. Just to wrap that up before hyperactivity, there's a bit that Darren won't have on his list. It's just ADHD tax because I love ADHD. I just find it fascinating, ADHD tax. So this is where, because of our ADHD, there's a tax on that. So we end up spending way more money than we should have to because of some of the funny things happen with our brains. So just examples. So we forget we already had something and then we buy it again. So that's a financial cost to us because we already had those herbs in the cupboard or that spinach in the fridge. So we buy it again because we forgot. So that's ADHD
Yeah.
tax. Then we have failing to update food shops. This has happened to my partner a lot. So failing to update our food shop. So you end up getting an old school list of food that you don't really need, and you end up having 6 hand soaps. Each week you've forgotten to take it off. So you're spending all this extra money, especially if it's food, because it'll just go off and you have to throw it away. What a horrible tax to the environment and to your life.
Yeah.
Losing things, so we need to pay for it again. So replacement keys, that's another classic. So things that, our clumsiness means we damage things, then we have to pay for repairs. So these are all things that are costing us money. So they call it ADHD tax. So I really like that. I'll just chuck it in. Right, Darren, let's jump into hyperactivity. So wild mind, restless body, and what to do, and wanting to do everything right now, which we talked about already. So hyperactivity, my friend. So this will be very interesting for a non-attentive. So I want to know what happens with your body, your mind, and your actions in regards.
Yeah, my mind it's the hyperactive part of me. That it doesn't stop. Sometimes I can lead it into down a nice, interesting, kind of calming path. Other times I've got no control and it's just rubbish that's going around. I can't stop. So that's definitely, yeah, out of control. That's probably the worst thing. My focus. That's probably the hardest thing because of all these racing thoughts. I can't keep focus. But I don't find with my body, my foot will waggle. I'll play with these fidget things to help. There you go. I can't when I'm at work. If I'm on the self-service area and you're standing up, I can't just stand. Standing still feels very unnatural. If I'm leaning against something, that's fine. But if I'm just standing still, no. So I will side to side, back and forth, walk in a little kind of like circle. I can't just stay still. But I find now I've started using these, I can when I've got these in my hands and I'm playing them because this is my, I guess, taking my energy. This is using my energy up. But I can lay down all day. I don't have to get up and do things. That's not me. I'm not, as they say, driven like a engine or whatever it is. That's not me. So I can sit and watch TV all day, but my foot will be waggling and things like that, and my mind will be going all over the place. But I don't necessarily have to move. And I know a lot of people have that. And I can't put myself in their shoes. I can't for yourself. If you got, I can't relate to it. Because I don't know what it's like to really want to get moving, all the time. And no, I'm quite happy to sit. Got to be honest. Talking wise, I did read about the whole when you talk really quickly, that is a hyperactive, verbally hyperactive. And I know I can at times, but it's like a sentence or two at a time. Most of the time I'm struggling to get the words out. And that's the reason why I don't leave voice messages, because to do things, to talk without any script that I've got in front of me, to remind me of what to say, I'm going to be even slower and there's going to be lots of pauses and you don't want to hear that on a voice message. So, yes. You think I've hung up, but actually I'm just pausing to find a word. Um, but yeah, but there are times when I can go quickly with my words, and I don't really monopolize a conversation unless we are talking about a specific thing, and I'm just going off on one because I'm quite passionate about it. You ask if you, God, you ask me about send provisions in schools. I'll talk your ear off because that's something I'm sort of passionate about. Um, but if it's not something that I'm passionate about, then I'm not gonna. I'm quite happy for you to interrupt me and you carry on, kind of thing. Because I struggle with words, I find it better for other people to do most of the talking anyway. So there
Well,
you go. That's
yeah.
that's it for me.
Well, I'll jump on in and cut you off. Um, no, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I was like, what's he going to say? But then it was really powerful about the sort of internalization of hyperactivity, the bit that people don't see. So they say this happens a lot for women, that it's all buried inside because the societal expectations on them are very different to the expectations on men. So we have to do more with our ADHD presentation. We have to deal with them and hide them and things like that. So when I say we, I mean women, not me. I'm speaking for my partner here. So yeah, it's like a fizzing Coke bottle, you just drop the bottle on the floor and it's fizzing. That's what it's like. From what I've heard, it's just like it's all inside, and then maybe twitching and things like that.
I would like to have more conversation about this, about the women's aspect, because there's me butting in. Now I'm trying to domineer the conversation.
No, this is good. This is interesting, isn't it? Hmm.
Because they say, like you said, it's more internalized. They're not as hyperactive and all this kind of thing. But for me, in my head and my kind of lack of knowledge, maybe isn't that just inattentive ADHD? Because everything that they say this is why women do not get diagnosed early is that's me. That's all me. You know. I don't mean later on in life I don't go through the menopause, obviously, and I know they've got that other stuff. But just the general kind of why women don't get or girls get diagnosed early because the presentation is different. Isn't that just inattentive? I only say that because that is me, and I am predominantly inattentive. So isn't it? I don't know. There might be something else there, and I really would love to have that conversation.
Yeah, I think the conversations I had with my partner about it is that, she would be, they've said she's combined, which is interesting because I would say she'd be more inattentive, but in that traditional way. But that's her version of how she experiences. She does actually find that moving subtly in many ways actually helps her inattentive presentation, if that makes sense. So she's found a way to release it. And maybe you can use like vocal tone, you can hum, things like that, ways to like get energy out of your system in other ways. But it's interesting because with mine, it's kind of like I have a crazy racing mind like you would, but I also have the addition of if I'm trying to focus on something, like say I'm on the phone, I can't use the phone sat down, I can't use the phone stood up. So I will pace up and down my flat when I'm on the phone. I literally cannot speak on the phone or send a voice message unless I am walking or moving. It's so uncomfortable. To
Yeah.
operate my brain that way and verbalize and not move my body. So I think that maybe that's slightly where it sits differently. But just my list here is so my mind is endlessly thinking about ideas. That's the big one. I can't that's why this graphic design degree is so powerful because it's allowing me to use all of that. Because I just can't stop thinking about, oh, I could design this or do this. Changes I could make. Like last night, I need to rebrand the podcast a little bit because it's so new. I spent 2.5 hours rebranding the entire thing. So I just pray it's the correct choice. Otherwise, I have to do it all again. It's like 2.5 hours, hopefully not down the drain. So there's that. Worrying about previous future events. Look, who doesn't? We all do that. But it can be quite intense for a hyperactive brain, especially whether it's inattentive or otherwise. Is what I've learned here today. Combined, hyperactive or inattentive, we all seem to have racing minds. I haven't met anybody that's like, yeah, I'm a Buddhist monk basically with ADHD. So, that's how it goes. But Yeah, so previous and future events. So that's a big thing for me. I'm always like, oh God, what am I going to, saying scripts in my head out loud, ready to go. Um, and then previously, oh my God, and it was actually any good. It consumes the brain. So, very similar. My body's always shaking and tapping, but I think a lot of us say that. I'm like you, I'm playing with beads. I have some
Yeah.
fiddle toys, but I love like just traditional beads for some reason
Okay.
that I can hang on my wrist as well. So I'm in the car, it's dangling. So it's just like always there.
I
Obviously,
might try those.
yeah.
I might
So
try that because I went through the like I've got the the cubes and things like that to begin with, and they're okay. And then I came across these cheap and cheerful things. We actually gave him sort of little party bags for their son's birthday, and like I really like these.
yeah.
It's just and so beads might be a good thing for me as well. Actually, it's
Yeah, so what Darren's talking about there, because they're like they come apart, don't they? So they're like little bits of plastic that
yeah,
click together, and they can change to weird and wonderful shapes. They look a bit like penny pasta or something, like little bits of pasta made of plastic
yeah, yeah,
that click together. And I've got a traditional on like a necklace with little bobble beads on it, and it's like the little wooden bits here. I like to squeeze on them, but also I can move up and down through my hands. I can twirl it. So it's really, really good for that. So yeah, I'm always shaking and tapping, rocking, things like that. And then to nod off on a nap, I need to like rock my hips a little bit or shake my leg, and I just nod off straight away. It's fascinating. It's like the engagement puts me straight to sleep. Fascinating. Talking fast. Yep. Chat, 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 chat. You should see me on the movie podcast, mate. When I talk about a film I like. Owen,
yeah.
slow the hell down. Oh my God, the film was so good. The script. Oh God, the acting. Oh, it was incredible. It's like, wait, take a breath. So talking fast when happy and excited and passionate, which Darren was talking about. But what happens is I then don't see the burnout coming. So at the end, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like death. And how do you experience that? How do you feel after a really intense podcast in the sense of like you loved it so much and the person was so amazing? Do you come off the call going, God, or not?
Yeah, even whatever, any sort of long conversations I have with anyone, even after this, I'm going to need some quiet time. I can't go from one podcast to another. I can't go from this and then go straight to work or something like that. No, I need to be able to have some downtime to calm my head, let my head do what it wants to do, and just chill before I can feel comfortable going into conversation or to focus on something in particular. My head doesn't like it, so yeah, I just any sort of conversation, good or bad. If it's extended, I just need some rest, some downtime afterwards. But yeah, you do get some really good sort of in depth and intense podcasts where you get a lot of information and it's made you think so hard about what's going on. And so yeah, that's because have to listen, and then you've got to decipher everything, and then you're overthinking about everything, this new information that you've been given, and you're thinking about that as well. And that's a lot. That's overload. I get sensory overload very, very easily.
Yeah, I think it's hard to split our attention, and unfortunately with this, we do have to split our attention. So normally, if we're hosting, you have to split way more attention if you're a guest. And I know you experienced that kind of joy when you were on last time that
Yeah.
it's slightly different. Whereas today we're both having to do it because we both have notes and we both have answers that we need to say. So like literally then I heard everything you said, but while you were saying it, I was also, right, so what is similar about hyperactivity? So I was able to have a separate dialogue, was also somehow hearing what you're saying, which is great. That's a skill and that's awesome. But that will just completely wipe me out. I'm having to focus so hard on two different things at the same time. So that's quite interesting. And I think what you're talking about there is the processing. I think people forget how important it is to process every experience that we have. There should be some sort of
Mm.
buffer where our brain gets a chance to store it in the way it needs, keep what it wants to keep, get rid of what it doesn't need. And that's what happens at sleep. When you're sleeping, your brain from the day gone by is storing memories and information that it wants to keep, and it will filter out what it doesn't want to keep. I wish it's amazing. So when we don't get enough sleep and enough deep sleep, that doesn't happen, and it will lead to real burnout later down the line, neurodivergent or not. And I think processing time, we should all try and put that in somewhere. Um, especially if you're like meeting up for a drink with a friend and you're sharing about things that you're going through, relationships or your work or whatever. When you go back, rather than just, having a few more drinks and then crashing out watching a film, just take a moment in the car, just don't put any music on, just and let your brain process all that emotion,
Yeah.
thoughts. Really, really important. So I would say hyperactivity generally here. There's a lot of crossover, more so than the previous. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Maybe it just presents differently in our
Yeah.
bodies and minds, but interesting. Right, we've got two left, everybody. So buckle up. We have people pleasing and lack of self-care. Here we go, everyone. Here's the big boy. There should be
Yes.
crossover here, I'd imagine. So,
Yes.
if I get something wrong, RSD and also like over delivering. So tell me more, Darren, about people pleasing, not just in podcast terms, but just in life and stuff, really. I find that interesting. Like, what are you like at work? Things like that with the customers and your colleagues. So,
Yeah. People pleasing is massive. It's the second of my top three horrible traits of ADHD. This is a one that's affected every part of my life, in regards to be it work, socially, relationships, family. It's I overthink so much, and the RSD is awful. So to try and counteract that, I again try to overcompensate and make other people happy. If they're happy, if I've made them happy, they've got no reason to kind of, I don't know, say negative things towards me, about me, be it my performance at work, being, my company, if we're in a social aspect, or it's just, let's make them feel positive about everything that I'm doing for them,
hmm.
to try and keep that RSD at bay, because it's awful. And most of the choices I make out of life are because of the RSD. And it's, generally speaking, it's either keeping away from people, hiding away, don't go into certain situations, or it's just everyone I come across, people please, people please, people please, to make them happy. So they have positive thoughts about me all the time, because I need those positive thoughts, because anything negative comes my way, I will struggle with that. The only time I don't struggle is if someone says something to me, and it's completely and utterly wrong. It's not subjective. I find it's if they said to me, like at work, if they said to me, you're not speaking to customers, and you need to speak to more customers, whatever it is, I will speak up about that. I won't take that to heart and go, okay, I will. Oh, I'm so bad at my job. In that sort of scenario, what I obviously do, I obviously speak to every single person who comes to the till. I speak to more people than I want to. You know, I will fight back with that one. But most things, any sort of negative, oh, you forgot to do this. Can you do this next time? Can you do this differently? Anything like that is just so hard to take, and it just all comes back to I'm not good enough. I'm never good enough, and no one ever says anything positive about me because I am not good enough. My job is obviously too hard for me. I can't cope with the job. I can't cope with anything. I am useless. I am rubbish. I am pointless, and I have no reason to be here with all these hardworking people, kind of thing. It's just, it spirals. The thought processes afterwards. It's just awful, 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 awful. So I try and try and try just to people please, and I guess we do, just to keep the positivity going, because that negativity is just too hard to take. If that makes any sense. I know I rambled a little bit there.
No, it makes so much sense. And I think this particular one, I don't think sits in one particularly, not others. I think it's going to sit in all three. I think this is like an umbrella one, or the foundational one that from what all
Yeah.
podcasts I listen to, everybody has it, no matter what type they have. And it's, to be honest, guys, from what I can see, it's mostly because the intensity in which we feel things. So whether it's because of lack of dopamine or the sensitivity of our nervous systems and our parts of our brain that fire neurotransmitters, we feel things times 10. That's what I'm starting to see unfold. So we are feeling this need to be approved and to be seen and to making sure they're constantly okay with us and that they like us and there's no issues, because the feeling of not having that is pretty debilitating. So this also applies to trauma. So people have had childhood trauma or not being seen by the parents or in foster care or whatever, they experience this too. So I know that I've interviewed hundreds of people with trauma. This is very much a trauma presentation as well. So if you've got a bit of trauma in your life from childhood and some sort of ADHD presentation, a bit similar to mine, oh my God, like times 20, it's terrible. And it's not because we're weak or we just don't feel like we're good enough, which is a big part of it, I guess, belief systems. It's just the intensity we feel things, which makes it really, really difficult. Um, and I think that desire to make sure everybody's okay with us is very taxing and means that we sacrifice a lot of our own self-care in the process. So you don't mind, Darren, I
Yeah.
just basically back you up because mine's pretty much all the same as yours, to be honest. So if I get something wrong, like last night, here we go, guys. You ready for a story? So I do a movie podcast, and me and Jess, she's in America, I'm in England, so our time zone's pretty much on it. My friend Lee, who's new to the show, and he comes on, he shares his top 8 lists for certain film topics. He's in Australia, so he is Melbourne, or Sydney. I messed up, and the time our clocks had changed a couple of weeks ago, but in Australia they hadn't, so I got it 1 hour out. And then at 8 o'clock, I got the message. Is there a Zoom link, mate? So I'd already forgotten to send the Zoom link. So I already went straight into my gut, straight into dread. The world's going to end. I want to collapse into a pit of despair and hide from the world just because I hadn't sent the Zoom link. That's how intensely I feel these things. And then realizing that I got the time wrong. Oh my God. So I got to double up here. No Zoom link. I got the time wrong. I thought I was going to vomit everywhere. It's like literally my gut, all my gut's just going to empty out like I've just seen a tiger or something. I can't explain it. It's horrible. And I've had it my whole life. Anyway, he doesn't care. He's like,
Yes.
"What's to do next week, man? It's all good. All good, bro." And he's so lovely. My body doesn't care about that. It
Yes.
doesn't care that he said it's fine. I'm a bad boy,
Yeah.
a very bad boy. Um,
It is.
and it's
It
devastating,
is
isn't it, Darren?
weird.
Devastating.
It, it is, and then you've got because you explaining it to people who don't get it, who are not ADHD and they don't have this RSD issue, or they don't have any other mental health issues that RSD is a part of. Um, it's really difficult to explain because a lot of the things you have the normal things in life, you get in trouble at work, whatever, or you get pulled over for speeding in the car or something. The normal things that people run into, and you take it to heart, and you take it a lot worse than the average person would. But then you also get the things that are like the perceived kind of rejection that is really just in your head, and I find those very hard to explain. Like if my wife came home from work and she's come through the door and I try to give a big hug and she's like, you know, and like bit, okay, I've done something wrong. Okay. The relationship's not going very well. It's I'm a useless husband. She doesn't love me anymore. And I'm a horrible father. And I'm just gonna go into my room and be on my own because no one wants to be with me. And like, I'm like my relationship's coming to an end, kind of thing. Totally, totally put into one side that she's got like a cup of coffee in one hand and she's got a cake in the other hand, so she can't hug me because she's going to spill and drop stuff. And she's had a really bad day at work because she have audits, which I knew about but I forgot. And it's been really tough. And putting all that to one side, the reason she acted like that obviously has to be because I am a horrible human being and not because, she couldn't actually hug me because she's got things in her hands and stuff like that. And explaining that is hard because how do you explain it without it sounding stupid? How could you explain that when someone doesn't smile at you at work, that you feel horrible, that you must have done something really bad for them not to smile at you because they normally smile at you, but they didn't smile, you know? Forgetting that they've got their own life and their own story going on and everything like that, They could have had a horrific day and they didn't want to smile. But no, because they didn't smile at you, it's your fault and you're the worst and you've insulted them somehow. Oh my God. I can't message her because I don't know her number. I can't ask for a number because that would be weird. But how do I know how can I say sorry? It's like you can't explain those things because it sounds stupid. Even now I know what it is. It sounds stupid. I felt really bad today, like everything was just going to end because you didn't smile when I smiled at you. That doesn't sound like a reasonable explanation. Uh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah, you're right. It is really hard to explain it. I think I've got quite good at it in the sense of, yeah, I just said I really struggle with rejection, even if it's not real. I just keep it really simple. And they're like, oh, no, no, yeah, I get that. Like, so that's all you can do, really. Keep it simple as possible. If you're trying to over explain it, then you look sort of a bit weird. And I just
Oh,
think,
I like to over
and
explain.
it's yeah, it's like just change in presentation or behavior of somebody. So if they've always behaved in a certain way and treated you in a certain way, and one day they're having a bad day and they change their behavior or change the way they use their facial expressions or how they interact with you, or they might blank you a bit, devastating. But really there's something going on for them. But I've got better over the years in those situations going, no, I know that they struggle with this on this. So I then jump straight in and go, oh, are you okay? So then I put the power back into my hands in a caring way. So if they
Yeah,
if they if they interact with me differently, I'll go, "Oh, you all right?" And probably never even asked them yet. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, not really." And then you start building a closer bond with them. So that's a good hack. If you can catch it just before I go into my gut, if I can just catch it. But it's there. So for me, it's yeah, deep shame, anxiety, and one is hiding the hole. Right. So that can be
yeah,
things like I will offer too much because I want them to like me very much, and in the end, I have no way of matching it, and I will kill myself trying to get there. So that's obviously going to be a tax on me. So you're sort of people pleasing in advance to avoid rejection in advance.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I will sacrifice my basic needs like having a proper meal or a nap or do mindful activity or house care to get dopamine elsewhere to provide a service to somebody. So if I'm like feeling really flat and low, I need dopamine. I will sacrifice all those other things that would actually help me long term to get the short term message somebody, tell them they're amazing. Oh, you're amazing too. Right, cool. I'm good to go. Rather than that time going for a mindful walk and taking care of myself. So there's a bit of that. So, I've said this already, getting podcasts out to make sure that that guest is happy. They don't give a shit if it's out today or tomorrow. But I'm like, no, I must tell them that I've done it. So I get the high of finishing it because I can't let it go. And I also get the high of pleasing that person so much. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. It's so great to come on. Oh, that feels lovely. Um,
yeah.
but what if one day they're like, oh, I don't have time to come on? Oh, they hate me. They think the podcast is terrible. They wish I never came on. No, they're just very busy. So when people are like, yeah, I'm going to come on, I'm going to book, and 2 weeks later they haven't booked, I'm devastated. But then they'll message me, say, I'm so sorry, this thing happened, or this, or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it?
It's,
I
it
We've got
is.
to be careful because we could talk about RSD all day. So I want to try and just leave it there, and wrap it up and just explain to people one more time. We feel things on a insanely intense level and just leave it there for neurotypicals and maybe listening. It's hard to explain, but it can be really, really rough. So just bear with us. We are trying our best. Right. We're nearly there. So needing to be alone. This might be good for Darren. Needing to be alone and avoiding large groups and settings. So I can see this maybe be a big part of the non-intensive experience, but I have a bit of it, but not as much. So yeah, tell me about this. So needing your quiet time, your space. How are you in crowds, gigs, big town centres? How's it go down?
Um, okay, first of all, I say you might need to make it like cut it short and tell me to shut up because this was a huge one for me. Um, I the best way I can explain it, I think, and I did this in a post a couple of months ago. My brain is like a car driving on the flat at 42 and in fourth gear at 30 miles an hour. Right? It's doable. Probably not the best gear, but it is absolutely doable. Every every extra bit of information that goes either through my eyes or in my ears, if I have to concentrate more or someone asks a question or I have to deal with something extra, is like adding another sort of like 2, 3, 4% on an incline. Still in fourth gear, still has to stick at 30 miles an hour. It doesn't take long before the engine starts to splutter and judder, and then you stall, and then I go flying backwards into a brick wall called overwhelm. And that's my life. So my head is always crying out for silence, for quiet. So being on my own is beautiful because my head needs it. Well, it's not about being on my own. It's about being in quietness, in still, in calm. So, but large groups don't like it. When I was younger, I could cope with like going to a club and all that because I was on the dance floor. I was listening to the music and getting involved with the music and dancing all night. Clubs back in my day,
Mhm.
there was space to dance. You know what I mean? There was actually a dance floor. You couldn't take your drinks on the dance floor. You had to dress up and you had to have your, um, shoes, your trousers and shirt kind of thing as a guy kind of thing. You had to dress up. Now you have to dress down, but and just stand there like that. I don't want to do that. That's horrible. Going to a pub on like New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. No, no, I'm not going to do that. It's my worst nightmare. Too many people, too much chaos going around. Yes, I work in a shop. Busy times when you're trying to shop and there's people just cutting you up and going in front of you and stopping, and it's like, oh, just no, I don't like that. I need uniformity. So sitting behind sitting behind the till, that's fine because I got my barrier
Mhm.
and no one's encroaching in my personal space. It's all good. I don't have to speak too much. I say hi, have a little conversation, it's gone. It's a quick conversation, then go, and it's fine. But large groups, I try and avoid. When I say large groups, you have 2 or 3 people. You know, when we have, like, say, family over, something like that, and it's just family, but there's quite a few of us. I'm exhausted afterwards. Exhausted, because it's just so much information, so much noise, and my head likes to have quietness. My wife, bless her heart, she's literally the only person on the face of the earth that I do not need to have any time away from, because she's very calming herself. Not massively talkative, and she has a calming effect on me, and I don't need any time away from her. Everyone else, I just need to have time away. Just want quiet in my head, and that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing. It's just hard to listen to people talk all the time. If there's a group of people, I hyper focus. No, not hyper focus. Sorry, got that wrong. I'm hyper vigilant. Sorry, which is even more exhausting. We go to we went to a theatre. Saw a comedian a few months back, and my wife knows I again crowds of people. Went to Oxford. She holds my hand. She's arm length. She's trying to make me feel comfortable and safe. She knows the score and it's great. She booked it. She booked the seats at the end of the row of seats, so I've got space next to me, so I'm not surrounded by all those people. It's just her on one side and then just a big gap. Great, brilliant. Sitting down, fine. Everyone's calm, everyone's watching the show, that's all good. When you get back up again to move out, again, you've got the chaos of everyone walking around you and bumping into you, and just no, that's not nice. And that's where she's grabbing my hand again, and so glad we get back outside again. So that's a huge one for me. It's strange because working in gyms, I guess I worked in gyms for so many years. That was my kind of like comfort zone, I guess. I could be in a huge gym with could be like 150 people working out at the same time. And that's fine. That's my home. I can go speak to all those people, no problem. Those same people in a pub, no, I can't. That's because I'm not talking about treadmills and exercises and abdominal exercises and whatever. It's not that conversation anymore. It's just about life stuff, and it's just like it's again the uniformity's gone, and it's just chaos, and there's bumping, and there's spilling drinks, and no, it's too much. Don't like it. So yeah, quietness is good. I need quietness all the time in my head because it's too much going on in my head, and any extra is just a lot to take.
So yeah, thanks, mate. What I really found powerful about that, a big thing came up for me was sensory. So people think the sensory thing is an autism thing. They're the ones that really struggle with sensory. But I think we all know by now with enough research that the sensory thing is a massive part of the ADHD experience as well. So
yeah,
I know Darren's already had people with autism on his show, so I encourage people to go and check that out. And I've got my first person coming on next week, so we'll dive into that. But a lot of the sensory stuff you're talking about is really interesting, isn't it? Because we have our racing thoughts and hyperactivity and positivity, all the things we talked about today, but there's also that sensory element as well, what really find really intense. So we feel things really intensely and emotionally, but we're also affected by environment quite a bit as well. I think crowds and loud spaces will obviously affect us. And just for a bit of lightness, I was so like you at the club. So I'm a bit younger than you, but I definitely had to put on black shoes. Got to look smart. But yeah, I was like you. Get my vodka and Red Bull, and run straight to the dance floor. And in every club that me and my mates went to, I had my spot. I used to get quite offended if someone was in my spot. So I like to be on the edge of the raised platformy dance floory bit, right underneath the air conditioning. Voila, perfect. So I can see the crowd just below me. And my partner was the same. I feel like I should have been on a podium, really, doing my thing. But I was like you, I had no interest in pulling or anything like that, or having stupid conversation. I can't hear what they say. What do you say? And I would just dance all night, and it was just the best time ever. Just hyper focused on moving my body and being at one with music. It's incredible. So it made me laugh.
Yeah.
It's like the same as you. We would have had a good time. We wouldn't have talked to each other or hung out. We would just be dancing nearby. So that's quite fun. But yeah, going back to what you were saying then. So I'm just going to read a few of my bits, and then I really want to bounce back off yours because it was really interesting. So I didn't realize I loved being on my own really, because when I was struggling to keep a job down and wanted to be an entrepreneur, I used to get really low, really depressed, and really flat. But now I realize that was because of dopamine. So I like to be by myself, but I need dopamine involved in that being by myself. Otherwise, I get really down. And then that's what made me realize it wasn't that I really needed to be around people, and that was the problem. It was because I was doing my alone time wrong. So not bringing in healthy dopamine-rich experiences. But now I've got that, I love being by myself. I live separately from my partner and stepson. Financially, living in Bath is very expensive, and the stupid system that is universal credit means that without paying for an insane amount of childcare, because I work full time, we can't afford to live together, which is terrible because I'm full time and she is part time. She's sick. She's unwell at the moment. She's not working at all. So the stupid system that is the UK system means I have to live separately. It's a joke. So I live in a small studio flat. So I've got the best of both worlds. I've got a family and they're really amazing. And my stepson's so amazing. And we've got a beautiful cat and he's an absolute legend. And I love hanging out with them and sleeping there a few times a week. But I get to come back to my studio flat at 41. I get to be a part-time bachelor. Um, and I have my own beautiful space. It's all set up for me with all my quirks, and I sit here and watch movies and obviously do my meditation and my social media. So that time's really precious to me. And because I work nights, I don't get much of it. So on a Wednesday night, my night off is very special. So I record my movie podcast and then I have some quiet time and I love it. And it allows my whole body to go, "Ah, I don't have to do anything. I'm not having to do anything
Yeah.
for anyone. Oh, this is good." So I don't think it's the same level as yours because of this whole dopamine feeling low and all that kind of stuff. But my reaction when I'm out and about is I really react to others' dysregulation. So if I'm in a busy place where other people are feeling frantic and chaotic in that space, I'm destroyed because not only am I struggling, I can see that other people are freaking out. So I
Yeah.
couldn't do it. So it's much harder for me just not to bother going to any of those things. So yeah, large groups are really hard for me, the same as you said. I'm constantly scanning. So I'm looking around, who's around? Do they look safe? Are they okay? Is that person okay? And I also get stressed if too many people are near me. So I need to be at the back. So if I'm going anywhere, I need to be at the back. So someone behind me. And I don't mind the crowd being in front of me. I just don't like people behind me. It makes me feel really claustrophobic and dysregulated. So there's that. But what I'll say is that we can find ways around it, right? So we can be resourceful. So I used to go to the football. I'm a Chelsea fan. I used to go to London from Bath for 3 years. I had a season ticket. Now reflecting now, how the hell did I do that? Eight crowds. I'm going to a 40,000 seater seat. I'm like, how did I do that? Maybe it's because I was young. But then I realized I'd figured it out. So I had my certain friends. So I hate trains. I haven't been on a train for 5, 6 years. I haven't been on a bus for 5 or 6 years. I cannot do public transport. I hate being in a space where I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not driving the vehicle. There could be a nutcase on the bus, like a nutcase on the bus that's going to attack me. Could be a dog that's going to bite my leg. There could be people giving me evil stares. People talking too loud and irritating me. I would just rather drive. So I drive everywhere, even if it's illogical. So I drive all the way to London. I park in Ealing. I get on a tube station really far away from the Fulham Broadway near Chelsea, really far away. So I'm the first one on the tube. I get my seat. Then it gets busier, busier, but I'm okay. I've got my seat. Then I get to the game about an hour and a half too early, walk around the stadium while it's quiet. I'm the first one in. I take my seat. I stay in my seat. Then it starts to get busy. I'm comfortable, like you said. Everyone sits down. Half time, not interested. I'm not going to get anything. I've got my my water bottle, my snacks. I am not getting up. I'm not going anywhere near that concession stand. And then at the end, let everybody go first. I get on the tube much later on. I get home insanely late because that's what I'm willing to do to make sure I enjoy going to the football. So I just wanted to say that even though it's too much, doesn't mean we can't. We just have to do all this annoying extra stuff, which may annoy the people you're with, but that's up to them. They don't have to come, do they? So, and I'm giving
Yeah.
them a ticket, which they wouldn't usually get. So they're buzzing. So I just wanted to say that I think that's enough on my part. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's kind of like I think with the HD, we're quite outgoing. We're quite like you can see me. I'm on videos. Hey guys, hi. I've run events. I run a company where I was running events. I was a host. I was presenting speakers. I was speaking, talking to a massive audience of people. It's like, well, this guy's got low self-worth, but he's being a speaker. Yes, guess what? I'm in control of that event. I run it. I know when it starts. I know when I'm speaking. I know who's speaking. I know who they are. I planned the whole thing. I'm owning that event. It's my shit. So I know what's going down. You asked me to come and speak at your event. I don't know how many people are there and who they are. I'm going to vomit. So I will turn that down. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting. I'm going to leave it there because I'm rambling now. But does any of that ring a bell? Do you like my football story and how much effort I had to put in?
It's yeah, no, it's good. Like you said, it can be extremely hard, but it's about knowing yourself and then trying to work with what you know and trying to put the strategies in place to be able to to complete certain things, certain tasks. So yeah, if that's what you've got to do to then enjoy your game, hell yeah, do it. And then sod everybody else, because you have to look after yourself. That's part of self-care. Everything I do at the moment, self-care wise, is for my head, and I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm not having anyone tell me that I can't do things to make myself feel good, feel better, and be able to cope with things. Because yes, I have a family, and I've got to certain things I've got to do, but there's certain things I have to do to be able to do things for my family. So yeah, no, I like that. I like that you understand your capabilities, I guess. When it comes to going to football, you understand. So this is what you've put in place, and it works for you. Brilliant. And that's where we need to come to. I think that's what most people do anyway. But everything is generally a lot easier for most people. But you still put little things in place to make it more comfortable for yourself. Neurotypical people as well. But there's like, if I go shopping, I'll do shopping at a certain time when it's quieter, things like that. Or I do click and collect because I don't have to go into the shop then. So it's you put these things to make it easier, and you can do it the other way, but then you're going to start going into, be it sensory overload and overwhelm and overstimulated and irritated, and and you don't want that. So you just try and do it the best way possible for your head.
Yeah,
So
I think it's like asking yourself, is the experience worth some of the downfall? And sometimes it is. It can be something really important, really powerful. So me speaking at an event, for example, someone else's event that I think is really important, I did do it because it was really important to me. So it's just asking yourself the question, is it worth it? And a lot of the time it's important to take the first option, which is to plan all around it. And if that means I can't use public transport, which for so long made me think I'm pathetic. I'm a 40-year-old man that can't go on a bus. So now hang on a second, that's not very self-compassionate. It's too much sensory overload. I'd rather drive. Lush. Let's find out where the parking is. Sorted. I love driving if I find it really therapeutic. So, you know,
yeah, me
who
too.
cares?
Me too.
It really doesn't. If I die and I haven't got on a bus again, I don't think I'm gonna be like on my there in bed, to my son, I wish I got on more buses. So it's like it's the things that you didn't do because you couldn't find another way, which is things you're going to regret. So we can still do these things.
Yeah.
I think obviously if you're in certain environments that seem a bit intense as well. So if you go to certain kind of events, like football is always risky. You could be surrounded by um, really shouty, sweary people that have been really aggressive. So pick the right stand, which I did. I picked the sort of quiet stand up high. So that's fine. And also don't support a team that's always going to lose because you're going to just be surrounded by people that are very angry. So I picked a team at the time that we kept well in the Premier League. So I was watching us win endlessly. So I was safe. If I'd gone to Everton or something right now, I'd be in a world of pain. So it's just picking your team correctly too. That's not that. So I'm going to wrap up there because I know me and Darren could do a 4-hour charity stream, but
This
the,
could be a very long podcast
yeah,
about this
I
topic.
mean, we could just talk about these individually, and in years to come, this will happen with various guests anyway. There'll be so much RSD chat over the years, but this has been really cool,
Yeah.
Darren, hasn't it? Because I think if we just wrap up in a nutshell, we there's so much crossover here. We both have a lot of the similar things. I just think they present in a more intense way. It swings either way depending on our type. So
Yeah.
I'm a bit more of this. We both have all of it in a way, but mine's much more on towards impulsive. Yours might be more towards being alone, but to be fair, mine was quite intense. But I think what have we learned here? To be honest, I just think they're quite similar. You just got a bit more of that, and I got a bit more of this. So I feel like a science
It's
experiment. Maybe we achieved something today.
it's yeah, I think it was an interesting one because again, I haven't really seen anything that has this like little comparison thing going on. And that is interesting. But like I say, there are differences, but at the same time, we're very obviously exactly the same. I would like to have a conversation now with someone who I don't know anybody who is predominantly hyperactive, impulsive, so not combined and not inattentive. And I think that's like 15% of ADHD is. So that's the smallest category. So that's the smallest subsection. So that'd be interesting to have that conversation.
Yeah.
To if it is really like that, they are really hyper, they really are impulsive, but is their head clear? Do they have all these racing thoughts as well? Do they have all these, is the RSD, is the overthinking, is all that there as well somewhere? Or is it purely and utterly they can't help stop moving and doing things that they shouldn't do because they haven't thought about it? It's an interesting one,
It is. I
you
do
know.
wonder if that population is low, but I think that's probably the most undiagnosed population, I would say. Just guessing, I presume with that presentation, you're much more likely to become an addict for a start and go down those kind of paths where you're just diagnosed as having alcohol addiction or a severe anxiety problem and things like that, condition. So I'd be really interested to see the stats on that if it's because they're getting missed, whereas we're much more able to be impulsive like that, but also slightly see it. I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? I have no idea if it's a
Yeah.
thing, but it
I
is.
mean, the stats are all out there regarding, the ADHD stuff, but I do think those stats are going to change because we're getting more people diagnosed. Therefore, obviously, the averages are going to change slightly, I guess. And because the presentations are being recognised better, people who wouldn't have got diagnosed will start to get diagnosed. So I think the whole thing is going to change. Listen to the podcast about the prison ADHD
Yeah.
in prison. That's a biggie, and it talks a lot about stats and why things are going on. There's so much more to it, and I do find it really really frustrating. I think, sorry, now I'm rambling as well, that ADHD is one of the most in-depth, I guess, mental, what is the phrase now? Oh, mental,
I wouldn't say maybe
it's not mental
affliction.
health.
Affliction's not the right.
Affliction, yeah, it's one of those things. I had this situation the other day as well. I just couldn't think of the phrase. It is well researched. It's one of the most researched mental disorders. There you go, disorders. But yet, the information still isn't out there. People aren't doing what they should be doing. The psychiatrists and psychologists and things like that. There's still a lot of them, doctors. Still, a lot of them don't really understand ADHD. They don't believe it so much, and it's like, wow. But I think it's all changing. More people are talking about it. More people are understanding what it is all about. And I think with that, for the next generation, I think the stats and where we are and is all going to be different because more and more people will be getting diagnosed, and the understanding is going to be much more widespread amongst the professionals.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I started talking about that. I've got to be honest.
No, I think it wraps it up quite well because we're it, so much further down the line, even the last 5 years in and around all this, which is super amazing. And the community out there on social media is just the best, and we're all just doing our part. But there's so much more we don't know, and I've listened to plenty of episodes with people who are experts, and even they say there's so much more we need to learn. There's so more tests we're doing. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're going to learn, especially non-medication approaches for those that don't want to use it. That'll be really fascinating to see. I've seen a few things already. It's fascinating. A lot of the healing is very similar to general healing. It's just done in a slightly different way for ADHD. So there's so much I already knew, which I was quite intrigued by because of all my years of coaching and interviewing other people. So that's kind of hopeful as well. It's not some like missing potion that it seems. It's just very hard for us to do those healing activities and exercises because of the
Yeah.
neurodivergent brain in the first place. So that's where the medication is so powerful. It allows us to do the other stuff that we need to do, which is cool. But anyway, that is another episode as well. But guys, we are so much further down the line, which is really, really cool. So let's just celebrate that. So yeah, thank you, Darren. I'm really, really keen on getting people back on the show, and this has been absolutely amazing, and it allows us more time to get into the nitty-gritty of it all. So I want to thank you for that. And
No,
just
thank you for having me back on.
that's so great. And just remind us one more time, name your podcast, where we can find you, and how often we can listen to you.
It's Me and ADHD Podcast, and I'm on Spotify, YouTube, as video and audio, and as audio on Audible and Amazon Music.
Cool. All the links in description. I don't know what else people to say. It's all in the description, but it just feels nice, doesn't it? Let people, pitch themselves. But yeah, that's great. Thank you. So that wraps up our episode where we combined a non-attentive with combined. I'm sorry, it would have been great to have a third person, like we said, at the other end, but it wasn't meant to be, and they're harder to find. So maybe that should be mentioned.
They are.
Which is interesting in itself. Cool, guys. All right. Well, I can't decide if this is going to be before or after my first ever coach expert, who I'm interviewing with tonight. I'm not sure what order they're going to go out. So either I hope you enjoyed it or enjoy it. It's coming up next. So yeah, if you know anybody, please, guys, if you know anybody with ADHD in your circles who you think would be confident and comfortable being in this space, I'm really keen to interview people from all walks of life, all over the world, on their experience with this, because I think everybody's truth that they can tell us about and how they discovered a way of sort of living free in their lives, I think could be really, really inspiring to somebody listening. So send people my way on social media. That'd be really, really cool. And if you know any cool coaches and fun experts, send them my way too. I'm doing a lot of my own work trying to get them, but I couldn't really do the hand to send them my way. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time for more ADHD chat.